Hello, welcome everyone to this Tuesday testimonial. I am so looking forward to listening to 4 incredible stories. So my name is Nicole. I have been with Plexus for about 3 years now, and I joined to better my son's health, and I cannot believe everything that I have seen with just my crew, never mind all of the people that I have found in this community. One of the amazing things about Plexus is that it is so easy, but yet it is formulated so complex that it just works for so many different things. It focuses on gut health, which in return makes us feel amazing. So, no further ado, I'm going to start introducing our lineup here. And you will find out that each 4 stories are different in that it's all because of Plexus and it's all because of balancing out the gut. Okay, so I would like to introduce Miss Sandy. I am so blessed to know her. Her and I have met because of Plexus, and she is such a sweet woman, and I can't wait to hear what she has to share for
us. Okay, so this one is always a tough one for me because I'm not sharing my story tonight. I'm sharing our daughters. My name is Sandy Wheatus, and I live in Western Maine, and I am a new Senior Gold Ambassador. And I started the products. So this is July. So I did a 7-day trial of just the pink drink in May of 2017. And then I ordered the triplex it was the end of August. It was September by the time I got my products, I think, or it might've been the beginning of, I wish I could shut those notifications off. So it was the beginning of September by the time I got my full triplex. And it was that fall, I think in October, that the company launched the kids multivitamin. And at that time I had come out of the closet to my husband and told him that I'd been taking the products, and because I was super excited about Leaders Retreat, which is an event that typically happens in the fall for people who have earned this training getaway. And I couldn't hold back my excitement about the possibilities of the business. And so when the kids multivitamin was launched, I was like, oh my God, we need to get some before they sell out, because our daughter, who was 11 at the time and in 6th grade, had been dealing with some things that we kind of just thought were normal, and we blamed it on her poor diet, and we also blamed one condition that she was dealing with, which I never even second guessed it. Like, I just was the mom who had a tube of A&D ointment in my purse at all times, because we never knew when she was going to break out with a yeast infection. And I never even connected it to being a yeast infection. Like, it was like, oh, look, she's red again and sore. And she knew, like, she would assume the position, and she just knew that the ointment was going to make her feel better and it was going to make it go away. And that was something that she dealt with from the time she was born. She was a C-section baby. She ended up being an emergency C-section because she had turned the wrong way in the last days of her time in my womb. And so we had a C-section. And she just was a high maintenance baby right from the beginning. It took us a while to figure out breastfeeding. She had the yeast infection. She spit up a lot. I had to time her on how long she nursed, because the doctors were convinced that I was letting her nurse too long. And no matter what, she was always throwing up. And it was just so heartbreaking to nurse a baby and then have all that work end up all over me most of the time. And she had colic, or period of purple crying was what they wanted to call it, and just all the things. And then my sister-in-law was like, oh, it's just her gender, you know, girls are just a lot of work. And I had had twins previously that they took 2-3 hour naps a day and were amazing babies, and they were so easy for having two, and they made momming like crazy easy. But I delivered them naturally with no drugs. It was a completely different experience. And so we went from colic to anxiety. She was stressed out all the time, even as a toddler. Like I just thought that I was passing on my personality to her. And so she struggled in school because she wanted to micromanage all of her classmates. Shocking, anybody that knows me, that she just felt like all the kids needed to be on task. If she was going to be on task, then the kids sitting next to her needed to be on task. And if they weren't, then she couldn't focus. And she was in the nurse's station all the time, and she was upset, and so this, and so did that. And oh, my head hurts. And, you know, and I got calls all the time. And so she was, being 11, she would have been in the 5th grade when that happened. So when they launched the vitamin, we got that right away. And so she was in the 6th grade, and her anxiety was definitely following her into middle school. But within 3 months of taking the kids' multivitamin, she was a new kid, pooping like a champ. She has not had one yeast infection since then, not one. Her anxiety levels have calmed way down. You know, things still bother her, but she is someone who can reflect on that, and doesn't necessarily mean that maybe she takes the blame for things, but at the same time, it doesn't totally derail her life anymore. She's not inconsolable. She's not throwing up because she's so upset. And that's the only thing we've done different. She and I went to counseling, and I felt like I did get benefit from counseling, but she was very resistant, would not open up, asked me not to go, those kinds of things. So all we did different was add the multivitamin. We were about 4 months in. We were about 4 months in, and she asked if she could have the pink drink. And so because of her size, she's pretty petite. We just did half a packet for a long time. And now she takes a full pink drink, and has been for probably 2 years or a year and a half. And we got a bag of the kids' microbiome, and then gave it to somebody else. And so we just got a replacement bag today. And so she hasn't had that yet, but to be able to add the omegas and all of that stuff, that because Andrea, she doesn't swallow capsules. I'm hoping someday she does, so that I can switch her over to the adult products. But for now, it's pink drink, it's kids multivitamin, and we are now incorporating the kids microbiome. So we'll probably off and on every other, whatever she feels like having for the day. She does like active. She is an athlete. She's 4'10", and probably done growing, because she has slid into womanhood like a champ. It's been amazing to do this with her, and unfortunately it breaks my heart to find out that some of her classmates have been on birth control for a couple of years, because their doctors, the only way they know how to help them with bad periods and dealing with those hormonal changes is to manipulate their hormones and put them on birth control, which is just, I just want to tell those parents, but yeah, I'm waiting for the right time. So we're thrilled. Plexus couldn't have come into our lives at any better of a time. I mean, my transformation has been huge. But at the same time, Annalise is sliding through all of this crazy change and doing it because of Plexus. Thankfully, we've never had to have medications. And we actually had her check up last week, and doctor asked us about birth control, and I was like, no, not a conversation we're gonna have because we don't need it. And she was like, hallelujah. She said, because most parents are already asking for it, and she thinks boys are stupid still, so that's a win for us. So that is Annalise's story, and it honestly just keeps getting better. She's a really solid, level-headed kid who, and I'm certainly not going to lie, we have our days where she's 14 and I'm not. So we butt heads, and that's just normal and natural. So it's all good. So anybody that has any questions about tweening, girls or boys, we can definitely say that this has helped us tremendously.
Wow, thank you so much, Sandy. It's really hard when our kiddos are not doing well, and seeing them go through that, and we try everything and we think we're doing the right thing. And then all of a sudden we find Plexus, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that Miss Annalise is doing so much better. So that is exciting. I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh. Okay, Mr. Ryan is our next sharer, and I am so excited to listen to him. And him and I actually went to high school together. He is the spouse to Miss Ashley, my sponsor. And I'm just so excited. I'm like, have no more words, so I'm going to pass it over to Ryan.
There we go. Thanks, Nicole. It's quite the introduction. Hi, everyone. I'm going to take this opportunity tonight to discuss why I use Plexus as a tool to help manage my anxiety. Ever since I was a young kid, I was just a very anxious person, pretty much a crippling anxiety. I couldn't go into public situations. I couldn't go to school without getting nauseous, which usually led to throwing up just all the time. That was me growing up. And as I got older, I decided it was never really addressed when I was younger. As I got older and was a young adult, I finally sought therapy. Was my first step. I think we did cognitive behavioral therapy for a while, and it didn't really help. It made me aware of it made me aware of my anxiety, and that was the first step in treating it. As I got older, my anxiety actually got worse and even more crippling, where I was almost, to an extent, agoraphobic. I didn't want to go out and interact like a normal 20-year-old would. I would just get sick all the time. When I was in grad school, finally, up in Orono, I finally had a doctor who prescribed me a very low dose of Valium, and that really helped me get through some really critically tough times. It kind of settled my stomach. It helped me focus on what I needed to get done and accomplished for the day. I would use it sparingly, but it helped me get through some really difficult times. Traveling overseas, finishing, a master's thesis, that was helpful. But then a few years ago, my wife Ashley started taking Plexus products, and I introduced me to specifically Vital Biome, and ever since then it's been a complete 180 for me. I take Vital Biome every morning, and it's not necessarily how I feel every day. It's more of what I notice that I don't feel anymore. I don't feel nervous. I don't feel anxious about greeting the day on a daily basis, which is a big difference. And so there's been a couple of times where I have forgotten to order the product and we haven't had it on hand. And holy cow, what a difference. Then all of a sudden you realize, oh yeah, that was really doing something. That was really helping me get through my day. And so that's where I am. That's where I am with that, is that specifically the vital biome is a tool that I use, like I said, to help manage my anxiety. And if anyone has any questions, I'm more than happy to take them.
That is awesome, Ryan. So you find adding in the vital biome with your other regimen really is the huge tool to help with your anxiety?
Yeah, the vital biome is the only thing that I'm taking on a regular basis. I do, if there's a particularly challenging situation for me, such as I don't like flying. Who really likes flying? I'll take something really low dose just to kind of get me over the initial hump of traveling, and then the vital biome just definitely keeps me going on a regular basis.
Wow, that's awesome. Who would have thought something that simple is doing such a huge thing to help? It's a really good buddy system. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, it's definitely just that mind gut connection that's really well established.
Yeah.
I'm feeling it every day.
So there is a question here that Andrea asked. She's wondering, how long did it take for you to notice the vital biome was working for you?
For me, I would say, like I said, it wasn't that I noticed that I was all of a sudden feeling amazing. It was more of like, oh, I'm not feeling crappy anymore. I don't know if that makes sense, but a month or two after taking it. And then on those few times that I've forgotten, where I've gone a week or two without it, I've kind of doubled up on the dose, and within a couple days, it's kind of like, oh, back to normal, which is good. New normal.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Ryan. I'm so glad that you were here and Ashley joined Plexus so it could help you.
Yeah, I am too.
Thank you. Okay, so we have Miss Sue-Ann story to share, and I only know a little bit of Sue-Ann's journey, so I cannot wait to listen to hear what you have to say.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Sue-Ann Tibbetts, and I live in West Bath, Maine. I'm a senior gold ambassador with Plexus. So my story started 4 years ago. I had a lot of GI issues. I had reflux and gastritis, esophagitis. I was living at the gastro office. I had multiple testing done. My body was just full of inflammation. I wasn't able to eat like regular foods anymore. I was on the elimination diet. It seemed nothing was working. Just medication after medication, tired all the time. I was somebody that had worked 5 jobs prior, like was busy all the time. I'm just totally exhausted. So I had come upon Plexus when I saw Jamie, my sponsor, had put a post up about the ProBio 5. And I started with just the ProBio 5. That was 4 years ago. And that was the only product that I started with. And I had tried like every probiotic on the market. Had done a lot of research on my own and talked to my doctor. I really thought that I had leaky gut. We had a few arguments about that, and he didn't believe that. We had gone to the extreme that we had actually put an IUD in, thinking that during my cycle time that it was sending reflux up my system the other way. It got to a bad period where I was actually vomiting blood on a weekly basis. And I was just looking and doing tons of research on my own. And we were going to actually go to Boston for treatment because we couldn't get any answers here. And luckily for me that I connected with Jamie, and I was still a skeptic at that point, and I was going to try just the probiotic. And within 3 weeks, I was off all of my medications. And this had been probably 4 years prior, that I had gone through all of the problems and really actively was at the physicians like for 2 years straight. Was just totally at the end of my rope because I wasn't even able to focus an 8-hour day. So I started that and was off all my medicine, was feeling great. And that was June 4 years ago. And that next July they had a sale to join. So I joined and started the pink drink, and just started really integrating things into my system. And some of that was a little bit harder than others, like the slim drink and everything. You know, I had a little bit of issues there, but was able to like pile through all of that. And I'm just like amazed. I feel so great. I'm full of energy. I can eat whatever I want. I can exercise. Like I would have never imagined that I could feel this good ever again. So I'm just blessed that I was able to find this and totally set my system back, but it's just all gut related, totally gut related.
Wow. So you said it took 3 weeks for your body.
3 weeks.
Wow. And you were able
I was able to get off it. I had a ton of detox, lots of detox, but I could feel the toxins moving. And at that point, I was so desperate, I didn't care. I just wanted a change. I wanted something different. So just piled through it. And yeah, within those 3 weeks, it was actually, I started the products in May, joined in, it was May, because we were going away to camp Memorial Day weekend, and we packed the camper, and my husband's like, oh, you forgot your medicine on the counter. And that's when I was like, well, I'm not taking it anymore. And so left it behind, and we went, and I've never looked back since. It's amazing.
That is awesome. Oh my goodness. I'm so glad that you shared that, because I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my
And
gosh.
we have throat cancer runs in our family. So for me, I didn't want it to turn to Barrett's and for that to happen. So I was on top of that for sure. But yeah, it's definitely life-changing for sure.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Sue-Ann, for sharing.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right, so our last but not least person that's going to share for us is Miss Amanda. And Amanda's story has so much, and so she could, like, just like all of us, we all could spend all day sharing what Plexus has done for us. So Amanda is going to be talking about something that was quite debilitating to her, that it's amazing also, just like everybody else, how the products have helped her. So I will pass it over to you.
Oh, thanks, Nicole. And I just love hearing everybody's story. I can relate to every single one of you. Ryan, I could hear my husband speaking. He takes the Vital Biome as well, and it's helped his anxiety and PTSD, tremendously. And Sue-Ann, I related to you too, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I was at the gastro, I was going every 2 to 3 months for check-ins and colonoscopies and endoscopies. And then, Sandy, my gosh, our daughters, they're pretty similar. My daughter was very anxious, just debilitating migraines and all kinds of things going on with her, the yeast infections. And then, here I am like, oh my gosh, I have so much to say, but I'm going to try and I want to touch on one of the biggest things that prompted me to kind of reach out about Plexus when I first started hearing about it. I had been praying a lot about, I need an answer, because I was being passed from doctor to doctor to doctor, because I did have so many things going on. But one of the biggest things that I struggled with was migraines. And they were to the point that I pretty much had my own room up to our local ER. I'm up here in Western Maine. And I was getting to the point where they were coming on weekly and they were getting more intense. So I was sent for an MRI and they said everything was fine. They went through all my medications and they're like, oh, it could be your IUD, it could be your birth control. And I'm like, I don't want to be on birth control. So I stopped that. And then I was sent to another doctor because my periods were so bad. I became anemic. And then they said my periods were relating, causing my migraines. And then they said caffeine was, and I said, I don't have any caffeine because I have such a sensitivity to it. So then they said, okay, we want you to try caffeine. We want you to try dark chocolate. I mean, I was on all these diets. I was sent to Boston for a referral out there to meet with a neurologist because, okay, maybe it's, in my brain, maybe it's injections. It was at the point where my kids knew when I had a migraine that they had to call my mom because I could black out. I couldn't hear, I couldn't see. I would vomit for hours on end. I would shake. I couldn't focus when they got that bad. And that's when the doctor started saying, okay, maybe it is something in your brain. Maybe it is something, in your body that you're rejecting. Or they were grasping at straws. And one of the last ones that I got, I was on my couch and I had my kids with me and my husband was working. It kind of started stemming like early in the morning. I dropped my kids off at school, went to check on my brother and their new baby, and they had an appointment. So I said, I'm just going to, stay here for a little bit. I got to use the bathroom. I can feel a little headache coming on. And my brother knew I had a history of migraines. So he's like, just lay on the couch, take your medicine. I said, okay. And so they left and I had realized I had forgotten my medication in my purse, which is not typical for me because when these migraines came on, I knew I had to take my pills. I had nothing with me. And I felt like it was seconds, I ran to the bathroom, started throwing up. All the pressure came to the front of my head. It made my eyes water. The ringing started in my ears. It affected my jaw. It affected my tongue, my teeth. It affected everything. I couldn't make it home. So I went out to the kitchen and tried to call my mom and realized I didn't have my phone. So I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I either have to make it to my house or make it to the ER because I can't just sit here. So after about a good hour and a half of throwing up and praying and trying to figure out what I could do, I got in my car, which was not a good choice. I still see it and feel it, and it was probably one of the worst days of my life. I only lived about 10 minutes from him. So I said, okay, I'm going to get to my house first and, just try to get some medication into me, something. So all the way home, I had to keep stopping to throw up to kind of get my vision back. And I finally made it home, made it into my house. I crawled up my stairs to get into my front door, somehow made it in. I couldn't make it to my bathroom. So I grabbed, I think I had a bag at the time. I laid on my couch and I just continuously just threw up, vomited. And then I couldn't get to my phone or anything. I tried to take my medication and I couldn't keep it down. My mom must have known something was wrong. She hadn't heard from me. And she knows sometimes like that's okay, something's wrong. So she came over that day, thank God. And she's like, Amanda, you are pale as a ghost. You're not moving. You don't look right. Something's wrong. And I'm like, Mom, you got to get my kids. I'm like, they're going to be out of school soon. Just please get home. And my daughter just looked at me and she's like, oh, Dominic, that's my son. She's like, you got to be quiet. Mama has a really bad headache. And he's like, is Mama going to die? She doesn't look right. And my mom begged me, like, you've got to get to the ER. And it was the worst pain I've ever experienced. I couldn't. I said, just, if I'm going to die, I don't want my kids to see me. Because at that point, I thought I must have a, brain aneurysm. I'm like, something is not right. And I blacked out. I woke up. My mom had put ice on me. The ringing just got so intense in my ears and in my head and eyes and everything that I think I couldn't take it anymore. And I woke up and it was still intense. And I just remember praying, like, if this is how I'm going to go, like, just take me. I don't want my kids seeing me like this. I can't suffer like this anymore. And then I woke up and dealt with, I don't even know what I would call it, side effects from everything that I had gone through. And I think it was like 2 days later, I'd reached out to my friend Abby and I said, okay, I need something. I'm so desperate. I didn't know much about plexus at the time, I'll be completely honest. And I told her I needed it to help with headaches and weight loss. But I was going through a lot. It was a lot for my kids to witness, mentally, physically. My daughter had started getting migraines, and I haven't had a single migraine since 2017. And my doctors, they're still astounded by it because they're like, how, why? And I told them, this is all I'm doing, because I started getting phone calls. They're like, you canceled this appointment, you canceled that appointment, you're not doing your labs, you're not getting injections, you're not getting refills on prescriptions. What is going on? And they're all for it. I mean, my family takes it now. My daughter hasn't had a migraine. And I was getting phone calls regularly from her school nurse. Amanda, she has a nosebleed. Amanda, she has a migraine. What do we do? What do we do? Nothing. Like, we are just so much healthier, so much happier, and migraine free. Like, I mean, that's pretty impressive. And it's gut health. That's all I've done different.
I'm going to try to talk without crying.
I know. I held in the tears tonight. I did good.
It is amazing. Like, seriously, guys, like, how can gut health affect so many things? We just heard 4 stories, all different. And like, seriously, like, there is no words. It's just listening to these stories, seeing the emotions, and it's really, there's no words for me to say, because it's just life-changing. It really, truly is. And okay. Does anybody have any questions for Sandy, Ryan, Suanne, or Amanda? Can anybody think of anything? No? Oh, yes, go right ahead. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi. So, Amanda, you were just talking. I totally feel for you on the migraines. I lost my speech one night with one of my migraines, and they put me in the ER, and I couldn't form any words. And it was the scariest thing I've ever been through. Still can't explain what the heck happened. I went through the whole MRI thing. I had a neurologist. I had Botox, which I'm against.
Yes. I so relate. I remember losing my speech several times, and it is so scary. It really is, because you can't explain it. You're like, what is happening to me?
Right. So because there's many people that suffer from migraines, headache, ringing in the ears. That hasn't gone away for me yet, but the migraines, long story short, it's so debilitating that no matter how much detail you give to a story, nobody is going to understand it unless they're in your family or they are experiencing it themselves. So I feel for you, and it's really neat, not that you went through it, but neat that you shared that much in detail. So kudos to you for sharing that.
Oh, thanks for just acknowledging that.
Of course. And this is my second time coming back to Plexus. So the first time I was on it, it really helped me with my energy and with my headache. And I'm a big iced coffee drinker. I'm so hooked on iced coffee. Caramel swirl. Don't ask me what I put in it because I shouldn't be doing it. So, but lately, in just these few days of getting back on it, I've gone down in size. And I even had one day I didn't go get it, which that's huge. So, knock on wood, I'm not having any headaches right now, other than being a mom. You know.
I'm so happy for you. Oh, so proud of you too. That's amazing.
Yes. So that's one thing. And then the second thing is to touch upon what Ryan was talking about. So anxiety runs in my family so deep that I could probably make a Lifetime movie about it.
Same.
But yeah, right? I saw your hand, Sandra. So this is another reason why I got back on. And being home, you know, in this whole quarantine thing and watching the different things that my family have gone through. But most importantly, I started to pay attention to how I was reacting. And I wasn't at my best. And for me to have a neighbor and a friend and somebody that sells plexus next door, and some of you may not be religious, and that's okay. But for me, that was a huge blessing that they moved in because, and she was never pushy. That's what I love about this, is it's not pushy and it's straight up. It starts in the core of your body and it works its way out. Like when you throw a pebble in a lake, right? It's a ripple effect. So for me to have something to grasp onto as a mom, as a wife, as a friend, just being a good citizen, this is really amazing. So anyways, I didn't want to talk too much because I'm brand new and I really wanted to hear all of you guys, but thanks for listening to me. And how lucky are we to have Zoom, right? Holy
Yes.
smokes. I mean, I'm glad social media wasn't around when I was in high school, but this is really cool, you know, like so neat. So thank you for making me feel welcome. I'm going to mute myself.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for sharing. Oh, that's awesome. We have time for like quick question, like one more quick question. If anybody has anything else they want to ask. No. I want to thank all of my sharers so much. I want to thank all of you for jumping on, listening to their journeys. And like I said, we literally could talk all day of our own personal journey. There's so much that Plexus has helped us with. So please reach out to the person that has shared this video with you, that has invited you to this call. They love you so much and they want the best for you. Okay, love you all so much and have a wonderful rest of the day.